Be honest with yourself right now. How many times have you set some ambitious goal? Maybe it's writing, maybe fitness, a critical work project. And then you declare with just, complete conviction, okay, I'll start from Monday.
Oh, Monday, that glorious, perpetually fresh start. It's the mental negotiation we all engage in, isn't it?
It is.
It has heard more lies than anyone in the history of personal development.
That one line just stops you in your tracks because it's so true. And that habit, that internal negotiation where we kick the can down the road until some perfect future day, that is exactly why we are doing this deep dive.
Right.
Today, we are moving entirely past the fleeting high of motivation to look at the practical, actionable blueprint for building unbreakable discipline.
And the problem with motivation, as the research lays out, is that it is fundamentally a performance artist.
The performance artist, I like that.
It shows up when the music is playing, takes a quick, enthusiastic selfie for your social feed, and then it just vanishes the moment the actual boring, difficult work begins. It is, by its very nature, emotionally unreliable.
Absolutely. If motivation is just a tourist that visits your life when the weather is nice, then our mission today is to find the architecture, the solid, predictable structure that actually stays.
Mm.
We're looking for sustained effort that you can implement right now. We are unpacking how to install a mechanical system that operates whether you feel like it or not.
Precisely. We've distilled the core mechanism from all this source material to show you how to build something that keeps you moving forward, regardless of how tired or bored or completely uninspired you feel when that alarm goes off tomorrow morning.
Let's start with the definition because I think this is where the conversation always goes wrong. When we talk about discipline, the common cultural misconception is that it means being harsh with yourself.
Strict or punitive, yeah. It suggests you have to be miserable to be effective. That narrative couldn't be further from the core message of this research. The powerful redefinition offered here is that discipline is actually much simpler, and I think ultimately much kinder.
Okay.
Discipline means keeping promises to yourself.
That reframes everything. It shifts the entire focus from self-punishment to self-integrity.
And crucially, it's about consistently honoring the small promises. Most people focus their willpower on these monumental promises. I'll launch a startup or get a PhD, I'll run a marathon. But the foundation of discipline is built on consistently honoring the tiny commitment you made 5 minutes ago.
So I'm going to unload the dishwasher now.
Yes. Did you say you were going to do it? Then do it.
That's an excellent point because failing on the small, trivial stuff undermines your self-trust just as effectively as failing on the massive stuff.
Exactly. Every time you negotiate your way out of a small commitment, you are sending a clear signal to your subconscious. I am unreliable. You erode your own internal trust bank.
So here's where it gets really interesting, connecting back to that motivation trap we mentioned. The contrast provided in the material is stark, and this is the real pivot point for you, the listener. Motivation is entirely emotion-based.
Right. It relies on excitement, inspiration, or, maybe on the flip side, a sudden burst of fear or guilt.
But discipline.
Discipline is identity-based. This is the difference between feeling like doing a task and acting, because that task aligns with who you have decided you are.
So you don't wait for the feeling of readiness.
You don't. You execute because you define yourself as a person who follows through.
I appreciate the subtlety there. It means the moment you decide you are a disciplined person, the internal negotiation should theoretically stop. You stop asking, do I feel like going to the gym? And start asking,
I am a person who goes to the gym, therefore I go.
but okay, what happens when that identity is challenged? If I define myself as reliable, but then I miss a huge work deadline, doesn't that just shatter the identity I'm trying to build?
That's a critical question. And the sources emphasize that identity isn't built in a single perfect act. It's reinforced by immediate recovery. The big promises are sometimes broken, sure, but that doesn't terminate the identity, provided you execute the next small promise immediately. Nothing changed for the people studied until they stopped trying to negotiate their way out of the immediate action following a failure.
So the true shift happened the day they showed up tired, bored, and annoyed, but still showed up. That messy, unglamorous completion is the cement for unbreakable discipline.
Yes, that proves your commitment is stronger than your mood.
Okay.
That single messy act, done when it felt hardest, establishes the new identity. I am reliable under duress. And the research shows this consistent, minimal effort on bad days contributes more to long-term discipline than a massive, perfect effort on a good day.
Okay, now that we've established what discipline is keeping small promises based on identity, let's pivot and analyze why this consistently breaks down for so many intelligent, well-intentioned people.
The primary reason for failure is, well, it's simple: overload.
Mm.
We see this pattern of radical, unsustainable change everywhere. You decide you're going to be disciplined, and you try to implement a new routine, a radical diet, a 5 a.m. wake up, and learn a new language, all at the same time.
That's not discipline, that's organizational chaos masquerading as self-improvement.
It is.
The source material makes it clear that this level of rapid, total transformation is simply overload, and it guarantees mental burnout. You just run out of cognitive space.
And tied into that overload are the two key structural failures that doom the effort. First, as we mentioned, the initial goals are often wildly unrealistic.
Right.
They require a heroic baseline level of consistency that the person simply hasn't earned yet.
And second, and this is the deep dive nugget we need to pull out here, a total dependence on willpower.
This is a crucial moment for understanding the mechanics of failure. We often treat willpower like it's this infinite well of internal grit, but the research, and the sources confirm this, views it as a finite resource. Psychologists have a term for it: ego depletion.
Ego depletion. Let's touch on that briefly to give this concept some real weight. How does the source explain the finite nature of willpower?
Think of willpower not as grit, but as a battery, or maybe a mental fuel tank.
Okay.
Every time you resist a temptation, make a difficult decision, or suppress an impulse, whether it's choosing the salad or holding your tongue in traffic, you deplete that battery.
Little by little.
Exactly. So by the end of a stressful workday, when you need that willpower to hit the gym or cook a healthy meal, the tank is empty.
And that explains why so many people are disciplined at 9 a.m. but fall apart around 7 p.m. They ran out of juice.
You ran out of juice. Willpower runs out, but systems don't. Shifting your focus from relying on that internal depletable grit to external structure and automation is what builds sustainable effort.
Right.
Discipline becomes less about brute forcing your feelings and more about smart structural design.
So if smart design is the answer, let's get to the actionable blueprint. We need the antidote to this overload and willpower trap. Let's jump in and break down the 3-step formula the sources provide for building truly unbreakable discipline.
This is the practical core of the deep dive. The blueprint is distilled down into 3 deceptively simple steps designed to minimize friction and maximize that identity reinforcement we talked about.
Step 1, make it small.
The instruction is literal. Make it so small that it feels genuinely silly. The goal here is to reduce the friction to 0. If you feel slightly embarrassed telling someone your daily goal is 5 minutes, you know you've hit the sweet spot.
So don't tell me you're going to write the first chapter of your novel tonight.
Well,
tell me you're going to open the file, type the date, and compile 1 sentence.
Precisely. If your goal is reading, the goal isn't read for an hour, it's read 1 paragraph.
Okay.
Your goal is fitness, it's put on your running shoes. The purpose is not the immediate output, which is negligible. The purpose is showing up and reinforcing that identity. You're practicing being consistent, not being productive.
And the research highlights why this psychological reduction works so well. When a task is large, your brain activates the threat response, the resistance threshold. When the task is tiny, 5 minutes, that threshold isn't crossed, and you start without arguing with yourself.
It's stealth consistency. And inevitably, once you're sitting there with your running shoes on or the document open, you often find yourself doing 10 minutes or a full page. But that's a bonus.
That's extra credit.
It is. The required commitment was only 5 minutes, ensuring the system doesn't fail.
Okay, step 2, make it daily.
Consistency beats intensity. This is a massive trap. People often skip 4 days and then try to make up for it with one huge 8-hour session of work.
Oh, I've done that.
We all have. That massive effort feels virtuous. It's great intensity, but it does absolutely nothing to build the automatic system or reinforce the daily identity.
Because the brain responds to frequency, not magnitude. Daily effort, even if it's minimal, means you have to deal with the inevitable resistance every 24 hours. That repeated, small confrontation is the actual exercise that builds mental toughness, transforming the conscious effort into an unconscious routine.
And the sources stress that the daily commitment is the ultimate structural mechanism. If you miss a day, the chain is broken, and it requires conscious effort to restart. Daily repetition engraves the habit onto your nervous system.
Which brings us to the highest leverage point. Step 3, attach it to your identity. This is about internal framing and the language you use when talking to yourself. The sources say you need to stop saying, "I'm trying to go to bed earlier."
Right. That language implies optionality, and failure is basically built in because it sounds like an experiment. Instead, you adopt the specific identity statement. I'm the kind of person who doesn't skip.
That shift from doing to being changes the entire motivational landscape. If you skip 5 minutes of reading, you aren't just missing a trivial task. You are violating your own established identity as a reader.
Exactly. And that violation carries a heavier emotional and cognitive weight, making you less likely to allow it. When you adopt that identity, you are essentially pre-committing to the action. It simplifies decision-making. You don't have to debate the pros and cons of exercising when the alarm goes off.
The debate is over.
The debate is over. You exercise because you are an exerciser.
So that framework gives us the structure. But discipline also requires resilience, which means building mental toughness. The sources identify very specific daily habits that actively train this mental muscle.
Yes, these are the small acts of self-mastery that directly contribute to overall self-trust, going beyond just the core discipline habit itself. For instance, tracking your progress, which we know works. But the list also includes things like wake up when you say you will.
No snoozing.
No snoozing. This trains immediate self-control right at the start of the day.
And finish what you start, even if the finish is messy. If you start answering an email, finish it before jumping to the next thing. This trains focus and completion.
And critically, do one hard thing daily. This isn't necessarily your goal habit, but something that introduces friction simply for the sake of conquering it. Cold shower, 5 extra push-ups, replying to a difficult message immediately.
You build your capacity to tolerate discomfort.
You do.
And these habits strengthen you against what the sources brilliantly call the excuse voice.
The internal lawyer. We need to spend some time on this because this lawyer is an incredible advocate. It doesn't sound like a devil on your shoulder. It sounds like a concerned, rational friend offering well-reasoned defense arguments for why you should skip.
That lawyer is ready with a closing argument tailored perfectly to your day. If you're tired, the argument is, you worked incredibly hard today. You deserve rest. You have earned this skip. You need to recharge.
And if you're busy, the lawyer says, skipping this trivial 5 minutes actually shows discipline because you are prioritizing the truly urgent task that's right in front of you. This is an optimal tactical decision. See how convincing it is.
Oh, it's brilliant. And if you're a perfectionist, the lawyer is the most insidious. You can't do this perfectly right now. The conditions aren't right. You should wait until you have a clear, uninterrupted hour so you can do it well.
Every single day, the internal lawyer is ready with a completely convincing, guilt-free reason to terminate the commitment. And the disciplined response, the one that prevents the identity from fracturing, is simple. You look that lawyer in the eye and say, do it anyway.
Not perfectly, not beautifully. Maybe the 5 minutes of work turns into 3 minutes because you're completely exhausted, but you showed up.
You showed up.
That intentional minimal effort preserves the identity and maintains the streak. The goal is showing up, not crushing it, because showing up is non-negotiable.
And this leads us directly to the crucial concept of maintenance and resilience.
Yeah?
Self-forgiveness. When you inevitably miss a day, and you will, you must forgive yourself fast, but never quit the system.
That is a vital distinction because mistakes are inevitable. We are human. We will miss a day sometimes, perhaps due to genuine emergencies or illness.
Missing once is human. It's an error, a bug in the system. But the research is clear. Quitting is a choice. Quitting is choosing to terminate the identity and disband the system entirely.
Right.
If you miss Monday, you don't wait for the next Monday to feel fresh. You execute the small commitment again on Tuesday, no matter how much guilt you feel.
So the goal isn't 0 errors. The goal is a 0 gap period between the failure and the resumption of the habit.
Exactly. Fast forgiveness prevents a slip from becoming a collapse. You acknowledge the mistake, learn what caused it, depleted willpower, overload, bad system design, and then immediately execute the next smallest possible action.
If we summarize the core mechanism for you, discipline isn't about some huge dramatic moment of transformation or a lifetime of self-flagellation.
Not at all. Discipline quietly builds unshakable trust with yourself through reliable, small actions.
And that trust, built over time, is the foundation for everything else you want to achieve. I mean, if you don't trust yourself to do the 5-minute task, how can you trust yourself to complete the 5-year project?
As a challenge for you, the listener, the sources recommend this 7-day discipline test. Pick one habit, just one of those silly-sized commitments. 1 page, 5 minutes, put on your shoes.
Just for 7 days? That's the initial period needed to reset your internal calibration?
Exactly. No excuses allowed, no negotiation with the lawyer, Just execute the system for 1 week and internalize the profound boost in confidence you gain when you prove to yourself 7 days in a row that you are, in fact, reliable.
Final synthesis. Discipline will change your life, but it will do it quietly. There is no hype, no noise, just the steady, inexorable accumulation of results. It's the most boring and also the most effective superpower you could ever develop.
And if we accept that systems, not willpower, drive discipline, this raises an important question for you to mull over as you wrap up your day.
Okay, what is